Bleeding purple and gold from the heart of Los Angeles. This is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. As always, we're powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your home for everything Lakers. Well, the Lakers are limping into the All-Star break. I know everybody is still upset about that ugly loss to the Atlanta Hawks. I'm still upset about it. It was a rough trade deadline for the Lakers, a rough post-trade deadline period, except for the one buzzer-beating shot against the Boston Celtics. We're going to try to live in that moment as much as possible because everything else around it was not so great. But it is Valentine's Day today. You guys, most of you who are listening to this are probably listening to this the next day, but that's okay. Right now, it is Valentine's Day, and today we're going to go through some of your questions. We're going to open up the mailbag, take a look at some of the things you guys are asking us, and try to show some love to the fans. So joining me today is Hannah Kulik from Lakers Nation. Hannah, thanks so much for jumping on here, and we're going to fire through some of these questions.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on.
So there's a lot going on, not a lot of positive right now in Lakerland. And we're hearing a lot of negative, and so as we anticipated getting a lot of negative comments, but I still think there's a lot of really interesting things to talk about here, some interesting comments. So let's kick it off with this one that I thought was one that I hadn't heard. We got a lot of the same question over and over again, fire Magic, fire Luke, that type of stuff. But here was one that I thought was interesting, and his handle on Twitter is actually @DearLaker. So kind of a cool handle. Said, with the league's growing importance on recruiting stars via free agency or pre-agency, and with 90% of the league being his former players, obviously that's an exaggeration, 90%, but still, could you see John Calipari making an NBA comeback, especially if it's a high-profile job that opens up in the offseason, and then he says, in L.A. Hannah, what do you think? John Calipari, is he leaving Kentucky?
I love that ... in LA. I mean, you never know. It is hard for me to believe that a team with LeBron James is going to be bringing in a college coach, even if someone of John Calipari's stature. But I mean, you never know in terms of another NBA team, like we just mentioned, I don't think exactly 90% of the league is his former players, but a lot of the top players right now, from Devin Booker to Anthony Davis, are all from Kentucky. So you never know. With the Lakers, though, I don't necessarily see that happen. But hey, you know what? Crazier things have definitely happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no too. I don't think it happens. I don't think there's any reason why he would leave. He's got a great situation there. It's like Coach K leaving Duke. I mean, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, maybe they flirt with leaving and things like that, but they're so well set up in the college game there. He's in a great situation. I don't see Calipari leaving, so no. I mean, yeah, some college coaches have made the transition over to the NBA and still found success, but in general, I'll say no. I don't think he's leaving. Okay, simple enough. On to the next one. Go for it, Hannah.
All right, the next question is from @SnackLockBurner, and he asks, oh gosh, we got an Anthony Davis question. Do you think Lakers will get Anthony Davis this summer? Trevor, I just first off want to say these last couple of weeks have definitely taken a few years off my life. I'm sure they have for you as well. I don't even want to hear the word Anthony Davis anymore, but do you think the Lakers are going to get him this summer?
Nope. No. At this point, and I think we all said this going in, that if the trade didn't get done by the deadline, it lowers the Lakers' chances of getting Anthony Davis. And I think particularly the way it went down lowers the chances greatly, because now there's resentment on both sides. The Pelicans feel like the Lakers tampered, so they're mad at them. The Lakers feel like the Pelicans, Magic Johnson said it the other day, didn't negotiate in good faith. They really didn't negotiate at all. They were just trying to get the Lakers to get all of their young guys thrown out there and kind of jab at the Lakers. Hey, I hope they feel better now. I hope this helps the Pelicans, and I hope they feel like this was their little minor win, because you know what? If Kyrie Irving leaves, or if something happens in Boston, or if Danny Ainge turns into Danny Ainge again, and he offers them a lowball offer, and they wind up taking something that's less than what the Lakers just offered, which was the kitchen sink, which was everything, then it's going to look real bad on the Pelicans. I think they've put themselves in a really bad spot. And I know you can put some blame on Anthony Davis too, and Rich Paul and all of that, and maybe on the Lakers as well. But because of all this resentment, all these other things going on, I don't think he winds up with the Lakers. If he does, great, but it feels like that ship has kind of sailed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Pelicans obviously don't want to trade him. And like you kind of mentioned a little bit, I think, the Pelicans think they're sneaky and they're sly, embarrassing the Lakers like this. But you know what? They're not going to get a better deal than what the Lakers were willing to give them for Anthony Davis. So in the end, this one could have just come around and bit them in the butt as well. But you know what? I kind of want to move on from Anthony Davis. I'm just over it. I have such a bad taste in my mouth from the whole experience, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next question, which features another guy that you're going to want to move on from real quick here.
Right.
This one is from at Zaid Kaifo, and I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sure. But should the Lakers sign Carmelo Anthony? Okay, I believe he will turn his career around and help the Lakers win games and reach the playoffs. So obviously news broke today that Markieff Morris, who was the guy that I was hoping would wind up with the Lakers, instead signed with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we all had flashbacks to Paul George last summer. And, oh God, let's not say that name anymore. Right. So Carmelo Anthony, do you think he signs with the Lakers now, especially with Enes Kanter and Markieff Morris and these other attractive buyout players off the market?
I would really prefer him not to. I actually had an article published on Lakers Nation about this the other day. And I mean, honestly, if it didn't work out with Melo in OKC, if it didn't work out with him in Houston, why is it going to work with the Lakers? But I mean, I know we're going to touch on this a little bit right now. The whole point of this team is just, the whole vibe of this team right now is just in such dire circumstances. Maybe Magic and Pelinka are feeling they need to do something to really shake it up. I don't think signing Melo was going to be the best fit. It's just going to take minutes away from Kuz. It's going to take minutes away from Ingram, and overall just bring even more media spotlight to this team. And all the Lakers really need to do right now is just kind of keep their heads low and focus on winning games and try to stay out of the media. I know it's hard because it's the Lakers, but try to stay out of the media spotlight as much as possible. And that's definitely not going to happen if we bring on Carmelo Anthony. So in my opinion, don't want it to happen, but I don't know. It may end up happening.
Yeah, and from the sound of it, it sounds like even your dogs don't want Carmelo
right?
to join the Lakers. So yeah, I mean, Melo I don't think he's the right fit. First of all, I know he was a great player in the NBA. Yes, the game has somewhat passed him by and everything. I don't think he's done. I think he can still contribute. He's not as washed as some people say that he is, but Melo can still do some things out there on the basketball court, I believe, but I don't think he's the fit for the Lakers, like you said. But I do think they're going to sign him. I think that's going to happen. I think they're running out of other options. I think he's their fallback plan, and so I do think that's going to happen. I don't think it really works out for the Lakers, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with it. You would have loved to see the Lakers get some of these other buyout candidates in, but fortunately that just didn't happen, and it looks like they're probably going to wind up with Carmelo Anthony. Hey, if they do wind up winning games, winning cures everything, and then maybe that fixes the whole situation. But for right now, yeah, it looks like Melo will probably wind up in purple and gold. All right, Hannah, you're up.
Alrighty, the next question is from @LosRealAli, and he says, what's the point of Rich Paul / Clutch drama if he cannot steer free agents to the Lakers? The only one he did is under contract for another year with another team.
All right, so he's talking about the fact that Markieff Morris, who is a Clutch Sports client, did not sign with the Lakers, right? So here's the thing. When you're looking at these buyout guys, these are guys that are going to have a very short window to try to prove to the league that they deserve a big new contract, or at least a new contract. They want to stay in the NBA. These are guys who got bought out by their previous teams. There's a chance that they could be out of the league, right? You look at like a Wayne Ellington, okay? Good shooter. Is he going to stick, though? He's not getting minutes in Miami. He's the kind of guy who could just sort of fade away next year. And so he's got to be really careful to make sure he picks the right team, a team that's going to give him minutes, and he's going to get opportunities to show what he can do. And Markieff Morris has to think about the same thing. And I was kind of wondering about this. Where does Markieff Morris play on the Lakers? If Kyle Kuzma is taking minutes at the 4, if LeBron James is taking minutes at the 4, if minutes at the 5 are getting eaten up by JaVale McGee and Tyson Chandler, and now Mike Muscala as well, who I guess you have to play after trading Ivica Zubac for him. I don't know that there's a ton of minutes on the Lakers. Plus, you've got this dysfunction and everything. I understand why he would choose to go elsewhere. So when you factor everything in, it makes sense. Yes, it's frustrating. You think, Clutch Sports, he should automatically come to the Lakers. But these guys still have minds of their own. It's not like Clutch Sports is just a feeder entity for LeBron James just to funnel guys to LeBron wherever he's at. No, it's a full agency, and they're trying to do what's best for their individual players. Sometimes that means going and playing with LeBron. Sometimes it doesn't. And I think that's just what happened here.
Exactly, and we have to remember that Rich Paul got us LeBron James last summer, who was obviously the biggest free agent out there. We also have to remember with the whole Anthony Davis situation, I hate to say that name again, but he isn't a free agent, and if he was, I'm sure he would be on the Lakers right now. So like you just said, sure, Rich Paul and Clutch Sports may be trying to get these guys to come and play with LeBron, but at the end of the day, they have minds of their own, and they've got to think of what's best for them and their careers in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he followed up at the end. He said, also, if the Lakers cannot attract a free agent in the summer, should the Lakers trade LeBron? The dysfunction isn't paying off. No, no, they should not. Here's the thing, right? LeBron, yes, has he slowed down a little bit? Yeah, there's been a few games where he hasn't looked like himself. Okay, that game against the Hawks, the energy wasn't there, the effort wasn't there. That was across the whole team, but still, LeBron has slowed down a little bit. You can see that. I wonder though, will he ramp things up if they get to the playoffs? My guess would be yes. But do you trade him just because of the things that have gone on and because the team is struggling? No, this team was 4th seed in the West when they had everybody healthy. They've had 11 games where their core players have been together. 11 out of 57 right now. Right? There's more going on here than just some bad chemistry or some poor coaching decisions or some poor roster construction. Yes, all of those are a thing, but also injuries are too. So when you're looking at this and you think, gosh, do we need to blow it all up and trade LeBron? No, that's a knee-jerk reaction. That's way too quick on the trigger for such a drastic move. On top of the fact that LeBron prints money. Right, LeBron is so valuable to a franchise because of the amount of money that he means to them, the amount of revenue that he brings in. It would be foolish for the Lakers to trade. It's kind of like Kobe back in the day. You're not going to trade him because he brings in so much money. That's a factor here too as well. I don't think that LeBron is on the downward slide that Kobe was towards the end of his career, but still the point stands. No, they're not going to trade LeBron.
Yeah, we're definitely not trading LeBron. I mean, could you actually imagine, Trevor, you wake up in the morning, you have a notification, something pops up, oh, Lakers have traded LeBron James. I mean, it's not going to happen. You don't trade LeBron James.
Yeah, you don't. And you know what? It's it would send a bad message too. Especially if LeBron asked to be traded, that's one thing. But if it's out of the blue, and he didn't ask, it sends a bad message to other stars around the league. Hey, if you go here, you could wind up getting traded. I mean, look, Anthony Davis is still pissed at Boston for how they handled Isaiah Thomas. Things don't happen in a vacuum. Okay, you do that to LeBron, and there's going to be a ripple effect across the league. So no. Let's go on to this next one. Mark Jonathan said, this version of the Lakers would likely get swept as an 8th seed. Why not just tank for a more attractive draft pick for trade purposes? Hannah, would you rather the Lakers sneak into the 8th seed and then play the Golden State Warriors in round 1, or miss the playoffs and have a slightly better draft pick, have a shot in the lottery, I guess, even a tiny one, and then maybe be able to flip that pick in a trade?
Oh, wow, Trevor, let's really think about this one. I think it's pretty darn obvious that I would rather have them slide into that 8th spot. I don't understand. I hate tanking in general. I just think it's so bad to teach players to lose. I just don't ever see why it would be a good thing, especially when you have a team with LeBron James on it, because, you never know once you get into the playoffs what could happen. We get everyone back. Everyone's healthy. You just never know. I don't ever like to tank in general. And it just, in general, we've had 3 number 2 picks in a row, and it's got us nowhere. So I'm over tanking for a draft pick. I want to try to win as many games as possible and try to sneak into that 8th spot. Oh,
sure. I mean, the draft is a crapshoot. You've got, you look at some of the players that have gone around the guys the Lakers have picked. I mean, look, hey, last year the Mavs got Luka Doncic with the 3rd pick, right? And now they're building their team around him. You just never know what you're going to get in the draft. There's also been a number of draft busts that just never panned out. I mean, look at Markelle Fultz, just got traded for, not even pennies on the dollar to the Orlando Magic because he never panned out at all. And he looked like a pretty solid prospect. He looked like a sure thing coming out of the draft. So you don't really know. So that's certainly a factor here. But look, even practically, okay, or if the Lakers were to tank right now, they can't lose enough games to make up enough ground to make it worth it. Because if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to catch hell, right? The media is going to be all over them for missing the playoffs with LeBron James on their roster. That's going to be a big, big problem and something for them to deal with. Plus, it puts the stink of not making the playoffs on them heading into the summer, into free agency. It makes it that much less likely that you're going to land one of these top free agents. So you factor all that in, and the fact that the franchise hasn't been in the playoffs in forever now. Yeah, you want to make the playoffs. Definitely. You want to make that's worth a few draft spots. Because let's face it, if the Lakers are in the lottery, they're the 13th seed, maybe the 14th seed, right? So they're not going to have a real shot at all of moving up. Okay, you're not going to get Zion. It's not happening. So no, you definitely make the playoffs. You definitely want to be in that first round, even if it means you lose to the Golden State Warriors. You want to make the playoffs if you're the Lakers. No question about it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break to talk about betonline.ag. It's going to be another huge week across the NBA as the playoff race is beginning to take shape, and there's only one place to get in on all this action, betonline.ag. Sports, casino, virtual casino, you name it, betonline.ag is CLNS Media's preferred sportsbook online. Use promo code CLNS50 for that 50% sign-up bonus. That's CLNS50. Make sure you guys check them out. Of course, your Los Angeles Lakers are going to be taking on the Houston Rockets. First game back from the All-Star break coming up next Thursday. That's going to be a big one. We know the Lakers would like to make that push towards the playoffs. So get in on the action for this game. Get in on all the excitement and the drama happening on the court. You don't want to be left on the sidelines when LeBron James goes toe-to-toe with James Harden. Go where the action is at betonline.ag. Again, CLNS Media and BetOnline are offering you 50% sign-on bonus. All you have to do is use that code CLNS50 with your first deposit. Go to clnsmedia.com/win. Use the promo code CLNS50 and you get your 50% sign-on bonus today. Again, betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. Okay, next one.
Alrighty, the next question is from @G, I think it's Schiller, and he asks, if Magic and Pelinka leave, who do you hire? Who would take his job? It's time for the Bus family to sell. Do you think Magic and Pelinka are going anywhere anytime soon, Trevor?
No, certainly not yet. It's way too early for that. And look, let me say this: Magic and Pelinka, they've made some mistakes, right? They've done some good things too. But hey, D'Angelo Russell becoming an all-star doesn't look great. I still defend that, though, because that's the cap space they used to get LeBron, to sign him to a max contract. So, hey, you can still make the argument here that turned out fine. But you look at everything else, all the little moves they've made. Getting LeBron, of course, is huge, and that erases a lot of stuff. But, Brook Lopez signs with the Bucks for $3 million, and he had interest in coming back to the Lakers. How do you let him go in that situation? It pretty much came down to him or JaVale, and they took JaVale, which, hey, JaVale's been good, but, goodness, you need shooting, right? The Lakers built a team without shooting this summer, which when everybody said, hey, that's probably not the way to go on a LeBron-led team. They totally mishandled the Julius Randle situation to allow him to sign with the Pelicans for $9 million. We were talking, Hannah, last summer that Julius Randle was going to get like $18 million a year.
I know.
And he signs for $9 million, and you're going to allow that to happen. And when he's a restricted free agent, you're just going to go, nope, oh, no big deal, let him walk away. No, you can't do that. You can't let a major asset like that walk away and get nothing in return. And that's a lesson that you think they would have already learned. And then the Ivica Zubats trade was absolutely brutal. And the more we find out about it, the more we find out about the reasoning behind it, the worse the deal looks. So yes, they've made tons of mistakes, but no, they're not going anywhere. Not at this point. Who would I hire? I can't even think of who I would hire because they're not going anywhere at this point. And nor is the Buss family selling. The franchise is worth like $3.7 billion. They're not selling it. They're not. It means something to them to keep it in the family, and it's so valuable. I don't see them getting rid of it.
Exactly. And in my opinion, the biggest thing and the most important thing that this franchise needs right now is some sort of consistency and stability. And we've, quote unquote, started over multiple times, and, we've hired multiple coaches, and we need consistency and we completely, get rid of Magic and Pelinka, start over from scratch again, I mean, it's just going to completely, tear up the entire franchise again. And we don't need that. And I mean, I just think it's pretty funny to speculate that Magic and Pelinka are going to be leaving in the first place, because although, yes, I completely agree with you, Trevor, there have definitely been some head scratchers regarding some of the decisions they've made. They're not leaving anytime soon. I mean, if we want to talk about who's going to replace Luke Walton next year, maybe that's a little bit of a different story, but Magic and Pelinka they're a different story. They're here to stay for a little while.
Yeah, it's almost like they just need, I feel like they need someone seasoned. They need someone who's been through all this before to kind of just, to hold that ruler and slap their wrist whenever they're about to do something stupid. Okay, whenever, like when that Ivica Zubac trade comes up, you need somebody just to give them a little tap. Say, no, don't do that. You don't want to make that trade. Or hey, why are you letting Julius Randle walk away? Little things like that. I think those are the things that they're missing on. They've been undervaluing their own talent, and that's my biggest criticism of them. But again, like, they're going to come into this summer with young players. They're going to come into the summer with tons of cap space. If they go snag, say, Kawhi Leonard, I know he's rumored to go to the Clippers, the Raptors, or whatever, but you snag a Kawhi Leonard, you snag a Jimmy Butler, you get one of these guys, you get Magic in the room, and he closes them. That erases a lot of these problems. This can turn around quickly, okay, if they're successful in getting a big-time free agent. So, no, they're not going anywhere. All right, Scott Sanchez, at Scott Sanch, says, everyone's to blame for our current record, mostly the front office. I've seen a few polls on this, actually, and yeah, a lot of fans do blame the front office more than anyone else, which is surprising, given the amount of Luke hate that we've been seeing online. He goes on, he says, besides adding to the team with the open roster spot, let's add a coach. I'm a Luke fan, but he's made his share of mistakes. Richard Jefferson is born and raised in LA. He is very close with both LeBron and Luke. So as far as I can tell, Scott Sanchez here is, for one, he's saying get rid of Luke because he's made some mistakes. But then the second, this is the first I've heard it, replace Luke with Richard Jefferson, who is like Luke's best friend.
Yeah.
Hannah, how do you make heads or tails of that?
I was a little intrigued when I first saw this, just because, again, I haven't heard anything of it. Richard is Luke's best friend, so I don't think they'd be friends anymore if he took the job. Let's just say I think there would be a little bit of a frenemy situation going on there. But just in general, I mean, Richard Jefferson isn't ready to be a head coach anywhere, and I don't think he's going to be an assistant coach even for the Lakers, because the notion has been all season that the Lakers want more experienced assistant coaches in there in the first place. In terms of, if you're realistically looking at who could be the next Laker head coach, we've obviously heard rumors of Jason Kidd or Mark Jackson. But honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever LeBron James wants to be the coach. Yeah,
to a degree. I mean, he's certainly going to have a major voice in that. And we're talking about it as though Luke is already gone, and he's not. He's not. I think he makes it through the season. Now, watch, as soon as we publish this, there's going to be a press release saying they parted ways with him or something. But I mean, the organization has expressed their that they're content with him, that they're going to stick with him, that they support him, and I think that the organization sees, the franchise sees, when we're talking about Jeannie Buss, Magic, and Pelinka, they see the way I tend to look at it. He hasn't had a team. You look at what he was given this last summer, you look at no shooting, you look at all the issues, all the imbalance because they were trying to keep cap space free, and then you look at the injuries. It's hard to expect a impressive record at this point, given how many games they've lost due to injury, given how hard it is to build any sort of cohesiveness or chemistry or anything like that. No, Luke isn't perfect. He's far from it. His rotations still drive me crazy, right? His offense leaves a lot to be desired, but he's still a intriguing young coach. He's a guy who can become a very good coach in this league. So I don't think getting rid of him is the right move, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Jason Kidd, Mark Jackson, those may be interesting names to discuss, but they've got their issues as well. Nobody's going to be perfect, and making the change doesn't always necessarily mean it's a change for the better.
I completely agree. I mean, I also want to say as well, I like Luke, and I kind of feel bad for him a little bit, because unfortunately the coach just, when teams are losing, and especially when the Lakers are losing, it all kind of falls on the coach, and he's usually the first one blamed. And I agree with you. Yes, his rotations have been, pulled out way too many eyelashes. His rotations have been crazy. His offense has definitely, like you said, not been the best. But at the end of the day, I do think he has so much potential as a head coach. And I do think he is a good coach, just in a bad position. It's been very unfortunate this year with all of the injuries. And I think you said 11 games, we've only had our full roster intact. And I mean, how do you expect to have a successful season when that's the case? So I think unfortunately he's had to deal with some, unfortunate luck, and I think he's done the best he can. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of starting to feel a little bad for Luke.
Yeah, it really is a tough spot to be in. It's not easy. The media pressure is going to be there. Having LeBron there adds pressure to win now. He's under a lot. I mean, he's under the microscope every single day. And that 11 games, that's really just the rotation players. I didn't want to throw in games where, say, like a Svi Mikhailuk wasn't able to play or something like that. Guys who were getting DNP, CD designation, did not play, coach's decision designations at some point. I kind of left them out of that formula. So like games that Michael Beasley missed, I didn't count that, right? Because he occasionally wouldn't play games anyway. So just looking at their core players, 11 games where they had all of those guys together. So that's, I think that goes a long way to explain what's been happening this season. But you mentioned the rotation. Let's move on here and let's get to this next one because it does talk about his rotations.
Okay, and this is actually a great question, Trevor. I'm curious to see if you have the answer to this one. It is from GTC2478. It says, why doesn't Walton stagger LBJ, LeBron, Kuz, and Ingram's minutes so that at least one of them are always in the game?
I mean, that is the question. I've been mentioning that on Twitter. Last game against the Hawks, he didn't do it. Partially was because of foul trouble, because Ingram and Kuzma both had 4 fouls, but he's been riding with this bench unit that just doesn't have the firepower. They don't click. They don't have the chemistry. The reason why he does this, why he does more platoons, he does a 4 or 5 man bench unit and then a 5 man starting unit, is because he wants them to build that chemistry out of the floor and he wants that consistency. And that's fine. That's an admirable goal, and it's a legitimate thing to go do on the basketball court. It's a real strategy that you can apply. But when you see a team struggling, when you see a second unit that can't do a lot of things and you've got guys on your team that can do those things, and I'm talking about creating their own shots and making defensive plays, and you've got 3 guys that are clearly your top 3 players right now, and LeBron, Kuzma, and Ingram, you've got to stagger. There should be just a hard rule that at least one of them is on the floor at all times. But Luke hasn't been able to pull that off just yet, and it should be an easy thing to do. And that's one of my big sources of frustration right now with Luke.
And I think that's honestly the biggest source of frustration for most fans, myself included, is, Ingram, Kuz, and LeBron are arguably, your 3 best players. And the fact that, especially when the team is struggling, like you said, and we need someone in there who can create his own shot and get the offense going, and all 3 of those guys are on the bench, you're looking around going, obviously put someone in. So, in my opinion, one of those guys needs to be in the game at all times. It doesn't even matter. One of those guys has to be in. And I hate to quote LeVar Ball, but he actually even said the other day, how can you expect Lonzo, he said something along the lines of how can you expect Lonzo to come in and, essentially win the game for you when you're bringing him in with, 6 minutes left in the game. He's cold. He's been sitting out, it's like, so, and I agree with him. I hate to agree with LeVar, but, Lonzo, these young guys can play the entire, second half at least. So they definitely need to be in there at all times.
Oh, man. And LeVar Ball is making sense now. That's the point we're at right now.
Oh, gosh.
We're in trouble. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe I'm just kind of still on the Luke Walton train. Maybe it's because, Hannah, you seem to think I look like Luke Walton. And,
I was going to say, you should be very, sentimental. I expect you actually to have all the inside scoop on all things Luke, Trevor. He is your twin brother, your secret cousin, whatever you want to call him.
He is like literally a foot taller than me.
So who cares? Sometimes twins, you could be fraternal twins or whatever. I actually always know a twin. One's way taller than the other one.
If Luke Walton and I are twins, then it's like the Danny DeVito Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Maybe you know that one. That's the kind of twins we are. But all right, Sam's P. I'm assuming this one came off of your Instagram, right? Sam's P Training.
Yes.
Okay, so Why is the team so bad at shooting free throws? It's one of life's great mysteries. Why are the Lakers so bad at shooting free throws?
Oh gosh, I mean, for starters, partly they're just not a good shooting team in general, and players who don't shoot well generally don't shoot free throws all that well. On the Lakers, the two best free throw shooters, I guess you can say, are KCP and then Kyle Kuzma, but man, these free throws, Trevor. There are some games where I'm like, just put me in. I mean, I can make at least 60% from the floor. I mean, when I go out and shoot in my backyard, I make that. And obviously, I know in a game situation, it's a lot harder, and I'm just being a little crazy. But the Lakers have to be able to knock down some free throws, and this has definitely been one of their biggest struggles all season long. So I honestly don't have the answer to that.
It's mental. I know that's a lot of it. A lot of it is mental. You see players in practice when they can get reps over and over and over again, and they can shoot, say, 50 in a row. Their percentages go way up because they can get into a rhythm. In a game, though, you're running up and down. You're getting yourself exhausted. You're tired. Your legs are shot. You're banging into other players, so you're getting kind of beat up. And then you have to stop and go shoot two free throws. That's a lot harder than when you're just sitting in your driveway. It's harder to focus. It's harder to get everything lined up the way you want it to be. So that's certainly a factor here. But yes, I mean, compared to most NBA teams, they're a very poor free throw shooting team right now. And it's something that they're going to have to fix, right? It's something that needs to get better. I do think they addressed it a little bit. Mike Muscala and Reggie Bullock are both good free throw shooters. If they can get to the line a little bit more, that will help them out. But they've lost some games because of their free throw shooting. There's no question it's a problem. I do think a lot of it is mental. I think if they had a shooting coach, that would help. I think that's something that would be nice. But right now they don't. In fact, I'm double checking right now, and yes, they have once again dropped to dead last in the NBA in free throw shooting. They are 30th with an average of 68%, 0.687% from the free throw line, and the Miami Heat are just one step above them at 0.688. So your Lakers, dead last in free throw shooting.
Always what I want to hear.
All right. So let's just skip the next one because we kind of talked about it already. Let's finish off with something that's kind of positive, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Why don't you go for it?
Okay, so this last question we're going to answer tonight or today is from, I think I'm saying this right, Array_80. And he asked, and I know a lot of people ask this as well, when can we expect to see Zoe back in the lineup? Trevor, when do you think we're going to start seeing Zoe back out there?
I think it's going to be 6 weeks. I think it's going to be at least 6 weeks from when his injury occurred. So based on the injury happening towards the middle of January, we're probably talking beginning of March. Just because it was such a bad ankle sprain, we've heard that he is running underwater to take the weight off of him. He's supposed to be starting to work on an anti-gravity treadmill soon, but that's a long ways away from actually, first of all, full weight-bearing exercise, and then being able to not just run north-south, but be able to actually make cuts. There's some big steps there he still needs to make. And given how the Lakers have been, I know he's got over a week off for the All-Star break, which is great. But the Lakers have been very very cautious with him in the past. So I don't think like he's going to be playing that first game against the Houston Rockets, first game back from the All-Star break. If I'm wrong, great, but I just don't see it.
Well, all I can say is the Lakers definitely need him back out there. But if we're saying, March, early March, mid-March, we're saying then, at least February is a short month. So it'll go by much faster, hopefully. And, obviously we don't ever want him to get injured, but if he had to get injured, one of those weeks he's missing is the NBA All-Star weekend, is the NBA All-Star, weekend anyway. So I guess if he had to get injured, it's kind of maybe the best time. But obviously we want to see him back as soon as possible. We want to see him back fully healthy. Yeah,
this Lakers team, they, maybe more than any other team in the NBA, they need the All-Star break so badly. They need to figure out where their heads are at. They need to be able to come together, and they need to heal. Tyson Chandler isn't right. Josh Hart isn't right. Lonzo Ball needs time to heal up. These guys are kind of beat up, and so hopefully this will give them a nice break, and then they can come back fresh and ready to go because they have an enormous task here if they're going to make the playoffs. In fact, I was surprised nobody asked this. So, Hannah, let me just ask you this. Will the Lakers make the playoffs this year?
I'm going to remain positive, Trevor. I'm going to say yes. It's hard to doubt LeBron James. It's hard to imagine a team with LeBron James not making the playoffs. And I believe in the power of positive thinking. So I'm just going to put it out in the universe that the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. What about you?
You're going to speak it into existence here. We're going to go back and
exactly.
quote LeVar Ball again. Speak it into existence. They're going to make it. You know what? I can say this. If the Kings continue playing the way they are and the Lakers continue playing the way they are, there's no chance. They won't make it. Because the Kings are playing well, the Lakers are not playing well right now. They look like a team that is very fractured. They look like a team that is still reeling from having everyone get traded or be put into trade rumors. And that's, to be expected. But again, you've got a week off here. If they can come together and they can gel and they can figure out their defense again, because their defense has been so bad lately. And part of that's Lonzo, but that's not everything. Lonzo being out is a big deal. But if they can get their defense back on track, then I think they can make a real push. It really just depends on which Lakers team we see coming out of the All-Star break.
Exactly. And, obviously we've got to hopefully get the mood around this team better because that's what's going to start everything. If we come back from All-Star break and we're still all kind of down in this dump, then there's no chance. But hopefully, they have a break now. We'll be able to relax and come back, like you said, fresh and energized and ready to make this push.
All right. Well, let's hope it happens. Hannah, thanks so much for joining me on this Valentine's Day and breaking down all these questions.
Of course, there's no other way I would rather spend my Valentine's Day. That's for sure.
All right. Talking Lakers basketball in a tough situation, but hey, things weren't that bad all that long ago. Try not to get too low during the low times or too high during the high times because this is a roller coaster of a season, and that's kind of the way it goes with the Lakers. Hopefully, they can make a push here and then put a scare in some teams during the playoffs. We'll see. These final 25 games are going to be critical. Going to be a lot of fun. Let's wrap things up there. Again, guys, don't forget, head over to LakersNation.com for all the latest breaking Lakers news. And, of course, check out our YouTube channel. Tons of great videos on there, including the podcast and the post-game shows wind up on there. Check out our Instagram page. You can find it at Lakers Nation Official. On Twitter, follow us at Lakers Nation. And on Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/Lakers Nation. Guest today, Hannah Kulik. You can follow her on Twitter at Hannah_Kulik. And Hannah, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, is your Instagram the same?
It is, yeah. It's okay. Hannah Rose Kulik.
There you go. Okay, so make sure you go follow her on Instagram as well. And my name's Trevor Lane. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane and on Instagram at Trevor Lane NBA. Guys, we will be right back at it again next week as the Lakers prepare for the final stretch of the season and hopefully make a playoff push. Till next week, see ya.